Thank you, thank you. Welcome back to another dynamic episode of Mr. Laner's Math Extravaganza. In today's episode, we will focus on subtracting mixed numbers with renaming. Before we jump into this episode and get into this lesson, I want you guys to think of nicknames. Now you might be saying to yourself, what does nicknames have to do anything with math? Take a second and think about your own nicknames. Some people might call me Mr. Laner, some people might call me Tom, some people might call me Tommy, Mr. L. These are all names that refer to me. Even though I've just rolled off 4 names for myself, they're all talking about the same person. You may have a few different nicknames of your own, but they all refer to you. This is going to be similar to some of the numbers that we take a look at today. Let's find out what that's all about. I have a problem up here on the board. Our problem states 6 minus 1 and 1/3. I have to think of a way to rename this 6. That's its regular name, but there's another way I can rename it. So I know that I'm going to be subtracting in thirds. I look at my denominator here, it's a 3. I can cross off this 6 and I can rename him as 5 3/3. There's his nickname. 6 and 5 3/3 are the same exact number. Now I'm going to subtract my 2 mixed numbers. If I subtract 5 from 1, I have 4. 3/3 minus the 1/3 would leave me with 2/3, so my answer becomes 4 2/3. Again, my original problem, 6 minus 1 and 1/3. I renamed the 6 as 5 3/3. I then subtracted the 1 and 1/3, and my answer became 4 2/3. Let's take a look at another example. In this example, we have 6 1/3 minus 2 2/3. Now this one's a little bit different. I don't have a whole number by itself. But when I'm subtracting, look, the smaller fraction came first. I only have 1/3. I can't give away 2/3 if I only have 1/3. So I'm going to cross that 6 out. I'm going to rename him. Again, I'm working with thirds, so if I took the 6 and crossed it out, I can make it 5 3/3. However, I still have that 1/3 there, right? So I'm going to add that 1/3 here to become 4/3. Again, cross that 6 out, made it 5 3/3. I still have that 1/3, it becomes 5 4/3. Now you might be asking or saying to yourself, well, hey, you have an improper fraction. Don't worry about an improper fraction until we get to the very end. Let's subtract our numbers. If I subtract 5 minus 2, that's 3. 4/3, take away 2/3 becomes 2/3. So my final answer for this problem would be 3 2/3. Again, if I look at my original problem, I had 6 1/3. I took away 2 2/3. My final answer would be 3 2/3. This is where that renaming comes in. I take my number and I kind of call it a different number. 5 4/3 is the same name as 6 1/3. It's just like how we started off today talking about nicknames. I might say that 6 1/3's nickname is 5 4/3. The reason I chose to go with thirds is because that's the denominator. If it was 6 1/4, I would then make this 5 4/4. I would keep the same denominator the same. I would keep it the same throughout. Alright, it's going to be your turn. Grab that pencil, grab that paper. We'll pause this video and I want you guys to try this problem. Your problem is 12 minus 1 2/5. Go ahead and pause the video and let's see if you guys can solve this one. Okay, in this problem, you should have realized that you need to rename 12. 12 I can rename as 11 5/5. Then I can subtract my 1 2/5. If I subtract 11 from 1, that becomes 10. If I take away the 2/5 from the 5/5, that becomes 10 3/5. So 12 minus 1 2/5 will equal 10 3/5. If I didn't rename 12, let's take a look at this problem. If I just said, you know what, I have 12 up there, let's just subtract. And you subtracted 12 minus the 1 and got 11, you told me the answer was 11 2/5, we didn't do it correctly. You never subtracted the 2/5 from your whole number. That's where renaming becomes important. I have to rename that 12 so that I can subtract that fraction part. It makes your guys' life a little bit easier when working with these fractions. Alright, let's try a brain buster problem. You guys are going to have 6 1/2 minus 2 3/4. I want you guys, again, use that paper and pencil. I want you guys to try this problem. Remember the things that we've worked on through this chapter. You might want to keep in mind your LCD. Go ahead, pause this video. Let's see if you guys can tackle this problem. Okay, this problem has 3 distinct parts. I'm going to rename my fraction here. I'm going to see 6 1/2 minus 2 3/4. The first thing I need to notice is I have different denominators. So just like we've done in this chapter, I'm going to find the LCD between 2 and 4. I know the least common denominator is 4, so I'm going to take 6 1/2 and I'm going to rename it as 6 2/4. It's the same fraction. 2 3/4 is going to stay the same. Again, how did I get from 2 to 4? I multiply by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. How did I get from 4 to 4? Multiply by 1, so 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. My whole numbers stay the same. So now I have 6 2/4 minus 2 3/4. However, I can't take away 3/4 if I only have 2/4. So I have to rename this problem again. I cross off the 6, I make it a 5. It becomes 5 4/4. I already had the 2/4, so it then becomes 5 6/4. 2 3/4 stays the same. 5 minus 2 becomes 3. If I take away 3/4 from the 6/4, it becomes 3/4. My final answer is 3 3/4. If you got this one correct, go ahead and give yourself a nice round of applause for getting it right. If you didn't get it right, that's alright. This is a brain buster problem. There was 3 steps to this problem. This was a difficult one. Try some other problems to help yourselves get comfortable with these types of problems. Again, renaming is the biggest step. Make sure you have at least common denominator between your mixed numbers. Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful episode of Miscellaneous Math Extravaganza. As always, we'll see you next time.